Welcome to my channel Starlight Sci-Fi Stories. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The triage tent had once been white. Elia's ward remembered that because the seams still showed it. Thin lines of faded color clung stubbornly to the fabric, like the tent itself refused to forget what it had been before the war painted everything else over. Smoke stains darkened the ceiling. Ionized dust coated every surface. Dried blood came in layers, different shades, different species, none of it fully washable anymore. Someone had joked once that the tent was becoming multicultural. Elias had laughed and told them to hold still while he sealed their legs shut. Now he stood at the center of it all, sleeves rolled up, hands steady, boots planted against a floor that shook every few seconds from distant artillery. Outside, the sky flashed faintly, not with lightning but with orbital debris burning as ships died far above the planet. This was a border world, valuable enough to fight over, worthless enough to ruin. Next, Elias called. His voice was calm, it always was. A grav stretcher whined as it floated inside, sounding annoyed at being awake. 4 soldiers escorted it, armored head to toe, weapons raised, eyes sharp. That usually meant one of two things. Either the patient was very important or very dangerous. Sometimes both. Elias didn't look at their faces. He looked at the stretcher. "Easy," he said. "If you shake her any more, she's going to start charging rent." One soldier snorted before stopping himself. Another shot him a sharp look, like humor had been outlawed today. Elias leaned in. The patient was alien, female, close enough to human that the differences arrived late. Pale skin beneath ash and blood. Long dark hair tangled with medical tape. Ears longer than human, sweeping back elegantly along her skull. The tips were burned and torn. That caught his attention for half a second. Then he saw the wound. "All right," Elias said, humor gone. "Let's pretend everyone stays calm and nobody dies for the next 10 minutes. The stretcher locked into place. His hands moved on their own. Scanners activated. Readouts flickered across his visor. Plasma shrapnel, internal bleeding, one lung partially collapsed. Whoever shot her had known exactly what they were doing. "Vitals?" he asked. "Dropping," one guard replied. "Of course they are," Elias muttered. "They always do that. Nobody ever comes in improving, very rude." He cut away armor and fabric. Alien physiology but familiar. Same organ layout with small differences, like a manufacturer update no one requested. He worked fast, sealing vessels, injecting stabilizers, ignoring the distant explosion that rattled the tent hard enough to shake dust loose from the ceiling. "Hey," Elias said casually, glancing at the woman's face. Her eyes were closed, bruised skin, calm breathing barely. "I know this isn't a great time, but if you're planning on dying, could you reschedule? I'm a little busy." No response. He smiled anyway. He talked when he worked. It kept his hands steady, kept his mind from going places it shouldn't. He once talked a man through an amputation by describing how terrible the coffee was on a transport ship. The woman groaned softly as he adjusted her position. Her breath hitched, then steadied. "There we go," Elias said. "See, still with us. You're doing great. I mean, objectively terrible, but comparatively great." One of the guards shifted. "Doctor," the guard said. "Elias," he replied automatically. "Doctor makes me sound expensive." He didn't notice the way the guard stiffened. He didn't notice the sudden spike on the monitor. He was too busy saving her life. Another tremor shook the ground. Elias braced himself against the table and kept working. His visor flashed warnings. Time low, resources low. He ignored them. Machines worried too much. "All right," he murmured, sealing the last tear. "That's the worst of it. You're not allowed to die now. It would be embarrassing for both of us." Her eyes fluttered. Elias leaned closer, adjusting the light. "Easy. You're safe. Well, safer. As safe as one can be in a tent held together by hope and duct tape. Her eyes opened fully. They were dark, focused, aware in a way that cut through chaos like a blade, not confused, not panicked. She tried to speak, failed. Elias gently pressed a finger to her lips. "Don't," he said. "Talking is overrated, trust me. I do it a lot." Her gaze locked onto his face. Her brow furrowed, not in pain but recognition. "I'm Elias," he said, because he always did. "I'm going to keep you alive, that's the deal, you don't have to like it." Her pupils dilated. The monitor spiked sharply. Elias frowned. "Hey, now that's not funny, I was joking, mostly." She went completely still. Not unconscious, not fatting. Frozen. The tent seemed to shrink. The guards stepped forward together, weapons lowering, not toward Elias but outward, as if suddenly aware of how fragile the moment was. Elias slowly straightened, hands raised. "Okay," he said. "If this is about something I said, I'd like to apologize in advance. I say a lot under stress." Her lips parted again. This time a sound came out. Not a word. A breath caught between disbelief and something dangerously close to grief. Outside, the war roared on. Inside the tent, time held its breath. Elias had learned there were many kinds of silence. The ringing kind after an explosion. The heavy kind when someone was dying. This one pressed inward. "All right," Elias said carefully. "I'm going to need you to do one of two things. Blink, breathe, or tell me you're fine and deeply offended by my bedside manner." "Nothing." The monitors insisted she was alive, stable, heartbeat slow and deliberate, too deliberate. One guard stepped closer. His armor bore insignia Elias didn't recognize, old symbols, important ones. "Step back," the guard said. Elias raised an eyebrow. "If she explodes, I'd appreciate a warning. Otherwise, I'd like to stay close. I just finished putting her back together." The guards formed a quiet wall around the table, not threatening, protective. The woman's eyes never left Elias. "Okay," Elias said softly, leaning in again despite the tension. "Medically speaking, you're doing better than expected, which is great because my expectations were very low." Her throat moved, she swallowed. "That's good," Elias said quickly. "Progress." Fingers twitching earlier was also excellent. Big fan of not dead behavior. Her lips moved. "Elias," she whispered. The name landed like a prayer. He smiled, relieved. "Yes, that's me. You're doing great talking already." Her eyes widened. The humor didn't land. Something was wrong, not medical, emotional. Recognition too deep, too fast. "How do you know my name?" Elias asked gently. "I usually wait until after the bleeding stops." "You said it," she replied. Her accent made the name sound older, heavier, years ago. "That tracks," Elias said. "I say a lot of things." A faint ripple passed through the air. His visor flickered. One med drone chirped in confusion and shut down. A guard spoke urgently into a communicator. Elias didn't understand the language, but he understood the tone. "You are not supposed to be here," the woman said. Elias laughed once, sharp, reflexive. "Believe me, I've said that every morning since I arrived." "No," she said, "you were reported dead." That landed harder than the explosions. "That's new information," Elias said quietly. Dust rained from the ceiling as something heavy struck nearby. "I don't know who you think I am," he said, lowering his voice, "but I promise you I am extremely alive." Her gaze softened. "I saw you once," she said, "on a border world 10 cycles ago." Memory stirred, faces blurred together after a while. "You saved my brother," she continued. "Then you vanished. They said the human doctor died in the retreat." Elias huffed a breath. "That explains my paperwork problems." The guards dropped to one knee. Elias stared. "Oh no," he muttered, "that's never good." The woman turned her head slightly. "My name is Arelis," she said, "and you are treating your queen." Elias stared at her. Then he sighed. "Of course I am," he said. "I can't even get a normal patient." Outside, the war continued. Inside the tent, a human officially declared dead adjusted a stabilizer drip and did the only thing he knew how to do when faced with the impossible. He kept her alive and tried very hard not to think about the fact that the universe had just remembered him. The war paused. Not officially. No treaties were signed. No ceasefire was announced across the stars. It simply hesitated. Orbital bombardment slowed. Ground batteries held their fire a fraction longer than doctrine allowed. Pilots circled instead of diving. Commanders waited for orders that did not come. Because somewhere on the surface of a burning border world, inside a half-collapsed medical tent held together by tape and stubbornness, a human who was supposed to be dead was standing very calmly next to a queen. Elias Ward did not notice. He was busy adjusting a drip and arguing with a medical scanner that insisted the patient should be unconscious. "Listen," Elias muttered, tapping the side of the device. "I don't care what your charts say. She's awake. She's talking. That means she's winning." The scanner beeped angrily. Yeah, file a complaint." Arelis watched him with an expression that mixed disbelief and something dangerously close to reverence. "You are not afraid," she said. Elias shrugged. "I am, I just don't see how that helps right now." Around them, guards remained perfectly still, elite royal protectors, veterans of 3 wars. None of them lowered their weapons. None of them raised them either. They were waiting. "You should have been evacuated," Arelis said. "When the retreat failed, when the line collapsed." Elias snorted softly. "I was busy." "Busy?" she repeated. "Someone had to stay," he said simply. "Wounded don't retreat very well." Her fingers twitched against the sheet. The bombardment killed everyone. Elias met her eyes. It didn't. Silence stretched. Outside, something massive screamed overhead. Not a fighter, too slow, too heavy, a capital ship maneuvering into position. Arelis closed her eyes for a moment. They will not stop now that they know. "Know what?" Elias asked. "That you live," she said. "That the human ghost is real." Elias laughed quietly. "That's dramatic." "You became a symbol," she said. "A human medic who would not retreat, who stayed behind, who saved our soldiers while our fleets burned." "I patched people up," Elias replied. "That's not a legend, that's a job." Her eyes opened again, sharp now, focused, regal despite the blood and bandages. "You do not understand," she said. "Other species do not do what you do." Elias leaned back against a crate, crossing his arms. "Sure they do. They panic, they run, they bleed, same as us." "No," Arelis said, "they calculate." She shifted, ignoring the monitors spiking in protest. "When a position is lost, we withdraw. When survival chances fall below acceptable levels, we abandon. This is logical." Elias nodded. "It is." "You stayed," she said. "You stayed when the probability of survival was 0. He smiled faintly. "Turns out 0's not very accurate." The tent shook violently. Dust poured down. One of the guards cursed in a language Elias didn't understand. A communicator crackled to life. "Your Majesty," a voice said urgently. "Enemy ships are holding fire. They are demanding confirmation." Arelis straightened despite her injuries. "Confirmation of what?" "That the human lives." Elias blinked. "Oh, come on." She looked at him. "They are afraid." He opened his mouth to argue, then closed it as another report came through. "Enemy ground forces are retreating from the valley." Another pause. "Sir, they are abandoning fortified positions." Elias stared. "Why?" Arelis's voice was calm, almost gentle. "Because if a human medic stayed, she said. Then the soldiers behind him might still be alive. The realization hit slowly. Not glory. Not rage. Hope. Elias rubbed his face with both hands. I just wanted to keep people from dying. And you did, she said, too well. The tent flap opened. A high-ranking officer entered, armor scorched, posture rigid. Your Majesty, he said, then turned to Elias. His eyes widened. It's him. Elias waved awkwardly. Hi. The officer swallowed. Command is requesting immediate extraction, both of you. Elias shook his head without hesitation. Not until the wounded are out. The officer stared. Sir, with respect. No, Elias said calmly. Without respect, not until they're out. The officer hesitated, then looked at Aralise. She nodded once. Do as he says. The officer bowed and left at a run. Aralise exhaled slowly. You give orders as if you belong. I don't, Elias said. I just don't ask permission to do my job. Minutes passed. Stretchers came and went. Elias worked non-stop, hands moving with brutal efficiency. Alien soldiers, human marines, enemy wounded dragged in by med drones with no flags left to identify allegiance. He treated them all. A young enemy soldier grabbed his sleeve once, eyes wide with fear. Why? The soldier whispered. Elias didn't stop working. Because you're bleeding. That was enough. Hours later, the sky changed. Not color, sound. The distant thunder of artillery faded. Engines powered down. Ships withdrew from low orbit. The war, having hesitated long enough, finally stepped back. Elias slumped onto a crate, exhaustion hitting him like a delayed punch. Aralise watched him carefully. You look worse than I do. That's because I'm awake, he said. It's very overrated. She smiled faintly. Elias Ward, she said, the Allied councils will want you. He groaned. Please tell them I'm busy. They will want to know why humans fight the way they do. He thought about it, about the faces he remembered, about the ones he tried not to. We don't, he said finally, we endure. She studied him. You are dangerous. He laughed tiredly. I'm a medic. That is what frightens them. Extraction came at dawn, clean ships, white hulls, medical insignia bright against the sky. As Elias was escorted aboard, soldiers, alien and human alike, lined the path. They didn't cheer. They stood at attention. Elias paused, uncomfortable. All right, he muttered, this is getting weird. Aralise walked beside him, supported but proud. You changed the war, she said quietly. I stalled it, he replied. Big difference. No, she said, you reminded us what humans are. He glanced at her, which is. She met his eyes. The species that does not leave. Weeks later, in a council chamber far from the border world, admirals argued and diplomats postured. Until a recording played. A grainy feed. A human medic in a ruined tent, sleeves rolled up, calmly stitching a wound as explosions shook the world around him. Hold still, the human said on the recording. Dying is inconvenient. The chamber fell silent. No speeches followed. No demands. The war ended quietly after that, not because of fleets or firepower, but because every commander on every side now asked the same question before advancing. What if the humans are still there? Elias Ward returned to medicine. He refused medals, avoided interviews, took a quiet posting on another border world. The sign outside, the new tent was freshly painted. Medical all species. Someone had scratched something underneath. Humans inside. Elias smiled every time he saw it. Because if the universe remembered him now, that was fine. As long as it remembered what humans did best. They stayed. And